Fulghum in Las Vegas, ready to bring you nonstop action here on Bet. We're talking football of all kinds. The beautiful game, the world's game, and the American edition, which we are addicted to. We're going to have a ton of guests to get to. Mike Reese with the Pats, Brady Henderson with the Seahawks, Kevin Seifert going to drop by and drop some knowledge on the Vikings. But I do want to start on the pitch, not the gridiron. That means we have to welcome in, first and foremost, our good friend, Sebastian Salazar, who's joining us right now to talk about the U.S. women's national team and a little Leo Messi. But I'll start with the ladies because wildly disappointing. Sebi, last week on Bet, you and Anita Mark sat here and wondered aloud if the red, white, and blue could get past Sweden. They did not. Bounced out of the tournament a lot earlier than many people thought. Sebi, what was the issue for these ladies in this particular tournament?
Yeah. I remember at the start of the tournament seeing the odds and seeing the U.S. as favorites and wondering if the odds makers were really watching the women's game. And then at the start of the knockout rounds, you saw the U.S. were still tournament favorites, and you had to ask if anybody had watched any of this tournament. I think the failures here are kind of twofold: players and manager. The player performance was simply not good enough. There's some big names on this team: Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe. They're the veteran class. There's some young superstars on this team: Sophia Smith, Trinity Rodman. Those players, especially the attacking core, were really not productive in this tournament, and you saw it against Sweden. For the first time in the whole World Cup, the U.S. actually played well. They created chances, but they just couldn't finish. One goal in the 3 games outside the 3-0 victory against Vietnam. If you don't score, you're not going to advance in a knockout competition, and the U.S. just weren't good enough. The other side of the coin is the manager, and you can question everything he did, from the team he took to the tournament, to the lineups he put out, to the subs he used and the subs he didn't use. And I think all of that, when you factor it together, means we're probably going to have a new U.S. women's national team manager the next time they're on the field. Latko Ananovsky still has contract for the rest of the year, but I think we've seen him as the coach for the last time.
I mean, it is a results-oriented business, and for the first time in a long time for the American women, the results not up to standard. The books are happy that the Americans got knocked out. I'm sure they were taking a lot of action on the pre-tournament favorite. You and I need to discuss this a little bit last week as well. Of these teams still remaining to win the FIFA Women's World Cup, which stand out as great investments or bets for those who may need to fire on another pony now that America's out?
So I look at this as 2 ways, right? Kind of odds to win it all and then odds to reach the final. Let's address England first, because they have the best path in the bracket. They advanced over Nigeria in the round of 16. It wasn't all that impressive. They needed penalties to do that. But more importantly, their star player of the tournament so far, Lauren James, was red carded. Now she's automatically out for the next game, the quarterfinals. They're going to get either Colombia or Jamaica in that game. That's still a pretty good matchup where England, even without James, would be the favorite. But because she stomped on a player, James could face a 3-match ban, which would put her out for the rest of the tournament. To me, that would be devastating to England. And if that news comes out in the next few hours, run and put some money on France to either win it all at plus 650 or to at least reach the final plus 250, right around plus 300. I think that's a really good bet on that side of the bracket. On the side of the bracket that was, we have to say that sadly, the U.S. side of the bracket, this quarterfinal between Japan and Sweden is the showdown for me between the 2 teams that have looked the best in this tournament. I'm going to go with Sweden because they are the better value at 9-1. It's hard to see much difference between these 2 teams. I think Japan between 450, plus 450, and plus 500. I think Sweden at around 8-1, 9-1 right now, coming off advancing past the United States, is a really good value to win it all.
And that might make Americans who bet on America feel a little bit better if Sweden goes on to win it all. At least you can say, hey, we got knocked out by the champion. All right, Sebi Salazar on the Women's World Cup. Let's now move to men's soccer here stateside in Major League Soccer. If you hadn't noticed, game's pretty easy for Lionel Messi playing at this particular level. He has been nothing short of an absolute sensation, goal-scoring machine for Inter Miami. When he came to this particular football club, they were languished in last place in the table. They were 25-1 to win the MLS Cup. However, after watching Messi perform in MLS, that has shrunk in half. They're now 12-1. Now, there is still only 12 games to climb out of that big hole that they dug themselves into before Messi arrived. Would you bet with him in tow that they would be able to do that? Maybe able to win an MLS Cup?
Look, what he's doing is absolutely sensational. He has taken the worst team in MLS and turned them almost instantly into the best team in MLS. but we have to be realistic here, right? They are not just last place in the Eastern Conference. They've got to get all the way up to 9th to make the playoffs. They've got to make up about 12 points of ground in the 12 games you mentioned. So it would take something almost historic for them to get enough points and make the postseason. With Messi playing the way he is, you think they might be able to accomplish it. But let's really dig into the schedule. Those 12 games left, 2 are going to happen in the international break in October. Messi will probably be playing with Argentina then. One of them will take place in the September international break. Messi will probably be with Argentina then. There's another 2 games around that September break that he could miss as well, depending on travel. And then on top of that, 2 of the games on this schedule will be played on turf. I don't think Lionel Messi is going to be playing on turf in either Atlanta or Charlotte. So that of the 12 games left, Tyler, means 7, his presence is in doubt. I don't think they're going to do enough to make a run and get back into the playoffs and ultimately win MLS Cup. If you want to bet on Messi, do it in Leagues Cup. That's the competition that they're in right now. They're plus 250. They're actually the favorites to win it all, and they're on a really nice side of the bracket. They're going to avoid almost all of the top Mexican competition in this tournament until potentially the final. So Inter Miami right now with a very clear path to the final of the League's Cup, and that's where you should be investing your Messi money.
That is why you, Sebi Salazar, are our man when we're talking football. Great knowledge that I'm sure most bettors may not know about Messi's potential schedule, and will he be available for those 12 games? So appreciate that. And in the League's Cup, extra credit bonus on top of that. Love it. That's why we love you, Sebi Salazar. Thanks for joining us here on Bet Today.
Always good to be with you, Tyler.
All right there, viewers. Now we move from the world's game of football to America's game of football, because this week, and we already saw the Hall of Fame game, but this week preseason action really gets started week 1, and we will see some games taking place Thursday of this week. So since we're not with you again until Friday, why don't we dig into some of those games? One of those squadrons that will be playing is the Minnesota Vikings, and Kevin Seifert, I should say, covers that team better than anyone else for ESPN NFL Nation. And Kevin checks in now with this update.
Tyler, the Vikings have 2 joint practices later this summer, so I don't really expect their primary players to get on the field much, if at all, during the preseason. But what I can tell you is that at least some people in this organization are privately thrilled to see the Lions emerge as the betting favorites to win the NFC North. You know, it's such a natural motivating tool for the team. You win 13 games last year and clinch the division a week before Christmas, and then the next year everyone's touting a team that finished 4 games behind you. I actually talked to one high-ranking official who encouraged more of this kind of talk in the media, in the gambling world, everywhere. This official said, go ahead, put the Lions in front of us. The Packers, the Bears, everybody, too. Do all of the teams. We're just happy to sit back and lay in the weeds. The Vikings feel like they have a pretty good team this year. Their passing game should be explosive, and their defense has nowhere to go but up, with Brian Flores as their new defensive coordinator. You know, it might not be evident in the preseason, but they don't plan on conceding the division to the Lions just yet.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much. Minnesota's opponents for that Thursday night affair is the Seattle Seahawks. And the man entrenched with that team is Brady Henderson, joining us here now on Bet. Brady, let's start with this. Geno Smith last year came in to this camp in a QB battle with Drew Lock to be the starter. Then he won that job and earned himself a contract extension with his play in 2022. How has the fact that he has some comfort or knowledge that he's the guy affected his preparation for this season compared to last?
Yeah, Tyler, Geno Smith has acknowledged that it is an advantage to no longer have to share those first-team reps like he was last offseason with Drew Lock, but he has continually downplayed the idea that he is entrenched in that role. He did get the big contract over the offseason, 3 years, $75 million, but remember, that deal was structured in such a way that the Seahawks could actually move on after one season if they chose to. So that's one reason why you've continually heard Smith talk about always wanting to prove himself and needing to prove himself. Now, one difference that is noticeable with Smith is that he is leaner. He actually lost about 10 pounds over the offseason with the help of some dietary changes. No more red meat, no more chicken. So he's also staying away from dairy and sweets. He's entering year 11. He's going to be 33 in October, and he said the older you get, the more mindful you have to be about what you put in your body.
I am learning that, Brady, the hard way, because red meat, dairy, and sweets, something I like to eat every single day. Last week, Friday, the Seahawks had a scrimmage, and with this game approaching, And for the real sickos out there who like to play preseason daily fantasy, any names of players at certain positions that stood out to you that we want to keep our eye on?
Yeah, second-year outside linebacker Boye Mafe is one of those names. He looks like a candidate for that prototypical second-year jump. Now, he actually had a really nice strip sack in the mock game of Drew Lock, was actually a bit embarrassed about it while talking about it afterwards. Said he actually didn't mean to hit Lock's arm. Of course, you're not supposed to touch quarterbacks in the preseason, or in this case, a mock game, but accident or not, Mafe has really been one of the standouts of camp so far. He was part of that strong rookie class last year as a second-round pick, played quite a bit in their defensive rotation. Didn't have quite as much of an impact as other players from that class like Ken Walker III or Tariq Woolen, but he's got a big opportunity right now, and he seems to be making the most of it. Pete Carroll said there's a night and day difference in terms of his understanding of the game, how he's seeing things on the field, and Carroll said Mafe is doing everything well right now. Now, he's vying for a starting job at outside linebacker opposite Uchenna Nwosu, and he's got a big opportunity right now because Darrell Taylor has been sidelined for the past few days with a shoulder injury.
Yeah, Brady, some of the most valuable information that you can offer to our viewers at this time of the year as we're getting ready for fantasy drafts is injury situations. And I know the Seattle Seahawks were thrilled with the work they got from Kenneth Walker last year. They draft Zach Charbonnet out of UCLA this year. Could form a nice two-headed monster there in the backfield behind Geno Smith. What can you tell us about their health at the current moment?
Yeah, they've actually taken quite a few hits over the first couple weeks at training camp to their backfield, but none of those injuries appear to be serious. Ken Walker III has been out since the second day of training camp with a groin injury, but Pete Carroll said they're really just resting him to try to make sure that's not something that lingers deep into camp. They lost second-round pick Zach Charbonnet to a shoulder injury last week, but he's since returned, and he's on track to play Thursday night in that first preseason game. And then another rookie, seventh-round pick Kenny McIntosh. He went down in the mock game with a sprained knee, but Pete Carroll told reporters yesterday that it doesn't look like he's going to be out longer than a week or two.
All right, Seahawks fans hoping those running backs can get healthy before their Week 1 matchup with division rival, the LA Rams. All right, we were getting connected with you, Brady, before you hopped on here with us live, and we saw someone join you on camera there that kind of caught our attention. Was that the Seattle Oh, look who's decided to drop by and say hi. Does the Seattle mascot have a name? And is he a nice bird or an angry bird?
His name is Blitz, and he loves nothing more than to get in the back of my shots, yeah.
Blitz the bird up in Seattle. I'm sure he's going to be flapping his wings for a lot of touchdown celebrations. That offense looks like it could be really, really good this year. If all those receivers stay healthy and those running backs get healthy for Geno Smith. A healthy conversation, excellent knowledge and information coming from Brady Henderson, locked in with the Seahawks. Brady, we appreciate you dropping by.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
All right, so the reason we had Kevin and Brady join us to share some information is because Thursday evening, the Seahawks and the Vikings will meet in Week 1 of the NFL preseason, and Seattle's a 4-point favorite here in this game, a total of 35. After hearing those two talk and looking at the line that we see there, man, I am never comfortable laying 4 in a preseason game, especially when the total is, even for preseason standards, kind of low at 35. So allow me to take those 4 points in my pocket with the Minnesota Vikings. The Seahawks, again, it's hard to tell who's going to get what reps and how many, and we don't know anything about these third, fourth stringers, undrafted free agents who are coming in and getting their first taste of NFL action. But on principle, catching 4 in a football game, albeit preseason with a total of 35, I'm comfortable with that. Maybe because Brian Flores hasn't coordinated in a while after being away from the game. The Minnesota defense is slightly more exotic than we would expect in a Week 1 of a preseason as he gets his feet under himself to try and lift that Minnesota defense. So I'll gladly take Minnesota +4. I will go over 35 as well. Not my favorite bet. Definitely like the spread more than the total, catching those 4. But 35 is pretty low. We could get a 20-16 type of game, a 21-17 type of game, very modest scoring, and go over this. But definitely I'll take the 4 in my pocket with the Vikings, given Flores back on the sideline for the first time in a couple of years. Maybe a little more exotic with that defense than you would normally expect. All right, that's one game we will see on Thursday evening. Another features the New England Patriots, and right now Mike Reese is joining us from Foxborough. Thank you for stopping by, Mike. We appreciate it. Neither QB took the field for the Hall of Fame game when we saw the Pats on the field. Do you anticipate Mac Jones getting to see some action on Thursday's action?
You know, I don't, but the Patriots haven't said either way. I'll tell you why I don't think we'll see him. The Patriots' offensive line right now, they're practicing without 3, maybe 4 of their projected starters. So I think if you're Bill Belichick, I always try to think like Bill Belichick, because oftentimes he doesn't tell us what he's thinking. Like, would you want to put Mac Jones in that situation, you know, behind a short-handed offensive line? And I'm just out of practice. It's raining here. That's why I'm under the concourse. And I'll tell you, they had their undrafted rookie, Malik Cunningham, throwing some passes in practice today. We haven't seen that much of that in training camp, and it almost makes me think we might see a lot of Malik Cunningham more than we would see Mac Jones.
Yeah, fair enough. Of course, New England didn't play in that Hall of Fame game. That was the Jets and the Browns, but no starters there, and that's why we're asking you if you anticipate Mac Jones. All right, Bill Belichick, as everyone knows, been doing this for a long time, maybe the best ever. Hasn't missed the postseason in back-to-back seasons yet. Here we have the Patriots this year, picked to finish dead last in the AFC East. All the upgrades in New York, all the upgrades in Miami. Of course, the Bills have been the prince of that division for the last couple of years. So how aware is this team and staff of their expectations, and what are they saying about that?
Bill Belichick, 49th training camp. You mentioned he's been doing it for a long time. Think about that, 49 years. He was actually talking to the team about that. They are aware that people are counting them out. Yesterday, wide receiver Kendrick Bourne was talking about his specific position group, saying not a lot of people believe in us, and that sometimes it can be good to be the underdog because they don't expect you to be coming. They do have a saying, though, around these parts, and it's ignore the noise. So it's not like they're necessarily focusing on that, but when it can be used as motivation, they try to channel that motivation for better performance. And I would say the owner, Robert Kraft, he's well aware of it. He said he has high expectations. People might think 7.5 wins, 7.5 is the number. He's saying playoffs. Get in the playoffs, and anything can happen. So the expectation here, a lot higher than I think the public perception is right now with this team.
Yeah, if they want to qualify for the postseason, and especially in that gauntlet of an AFC, they're definitely going to have to go over 7.5 wins and probably finish, at least second in the AFC East division. So in your estimation, Mike, covering this team for as long as you have, what do the Patriots need to do to qualify for the postseason? What areas do they need to improve if they want to sneak up on some people and defy expectation?
I mean, to me, this is one where you just go right to the top. It's the quarterback, right? If Mac Jones plays like he did as a rookie in 2021, when they actually did qualify for the playoffs, they'll have a good chance to do that, or a better chance to do that. If he plays like he did last year, when they didn't qualify for the playoffs, you might have the same result. And what I will tell you from watching 11 training camp practices, he looks like the quarterback he was as a rookie. And the reason why is they have a new offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien, who's a lot like the coordinator when Mac Jones was a rookie, Josh McDaniels. We all know what happened last year when Bill Belichick tried an experiment with Matt Patricia calling the plays, a longtime defensive coach. Mac looks much different in training camp, and now we'll see, if that translates to game action.
Yeah, that's one of those storylines that may go under the radar for the average NFL fan, but Bill O'Brien, a very good offensive coordinator for a very long time, including a stint with the Patriots in this league. So big benefit for Mac Jones and that offense there. Mike Reese, Patriots reporter here for ESPN, joining us on Bet. Mike, we appreciate the information.
Thanks for having me. I wish I had Pat Patriot here after seeing Brady out there with Blitz in Seattle. Next time you got to give me advance notice. I'll get Pat Patriot out here.
Yeah, we will do that. Maybe we could arrange some kind of mascot battle royale here on Bet. That would be a lot. Or we could just have the team reporters get in the ring and get in a battle royale. I bet Mike could hold his own there.
I don't know about that. You might be giving me too much credit, Tyler.
All right, Mike, we appreciate you dropping by as always, and stay dry there in Foxborough, my friend. As mentioned, the Patriots, one of the other teams in action on Thursday night, they'll be taking on the Houston Texans in week 1 of the NFL preseason. Of course, the Texans debuting potentially a rookie quarterback. Number 2 pick, C.J. Stroud, but definitely a rookie head coach. D'Amico Ryans coming over from the San Francisco 49ers after being their defensive coordinator. The Texans in New England are a 1.5-point favorite. We have a much higher total for this game, 39. Kind of shocking. I'm going to ride the move. This opened as a pick'em, and we've seen some steam on the Houston Texans. I am with it. I will take the Texans as a road favorite in Foxborough, and the handicap or reasoning is because of rookie head coach D'Amico Ryans. Generally speaking, rookie head coaches coaching in an NFL game for the first time ever, even though he's been a defensive coordinator, this is a different animal as the head coach, different responsibilities, different things you're looking at, all kinds of things going on in your head that are different than just calling a defensive scheme. You might see something closer to what he is actually going to do on game day week 1 of the regular season than what Bill Belichick is going to do, who, as Mike pointed out, has been coaching in this league one way or the other for 49 seasons. So I like Houston to maybe play a little bit closer to what the regular season model is going to look like. Maybe play some starters, maybe play some rookies a little longer, and coach a little more aggressively. So I'll lay the 1.5 on the road with Houston, given that circumstance. And I will go under 39. Again, that's a high total for a preseason game. Saw some rain there in the forecast. We'll see if that's going to be around later in the week. But bottom line, 39, just a bit too high for a preseason game. So I'll come under that total in Houston, or in New England, I should say, with the Texans and the Pats. All right, that's a look at Week 1 Thursday action in the National Football League preseason style. Before I let you go, Billy G, as we call it around here on Bet, we discussed 3-4 teams in the NFL during this show. Talked to 3 reporters from those teams. So if I am thinking about the Patriots, if I am thinking about the Vikings, if I am thinking about the Seahawks, and I'm to give you my favorite future from one of those teams for this upcoming season, I'm turning to Seattle, man. I'm going to go over 9 wins for the Seahawks. Now, we get the push if it lands on 9, but I really do think this can be a 10-7 team for a few reasons. That offense should be really, really good. Geno Smith proved last year he's a pretty dang good quarterback, especially when you have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and now Jackson Smith and Jigba. The offensive line could be top 10 in the league, and those running backs, if healthy, should be pretty good as well. The defense, a lot of great young talent, and now they have their leader, their heartbeat, a Hall of Famer to be in Bobby Wagner, back in Seattle as the green dot leader on that defense after last year in LA. He still got it. He was awesome for the Rams last year. That was not a reason why the Rams stunk. And then the division and conference, somewhat underwhelming. Based on Vegas projected win total, the Seahawks have the 10th easiest schedule in the NFL. The Cardinals should stink. The Rams should be no good. The NFC's not that great. I think Seattle's a playoff team, and I think they can get to 10-7 and earn you a victory with this futures bet. Want to thank Brady. Want to thank Kevin. Want to thank everyone who joined us here today for a wonderful bet. We'll see you back here Friday.